2025. Incredibly, this is the 12th year of this thing. So they're going to be as you can imagine, I suggest that you buckle up because there's a lot of balls that are going to be in the air going on through this next hour and plus time. Um, and good golly, so like any of my Monday classes, we're going to be jumping in and out of all stuff, right? So one of the things that's going to go on in the background is that we have 5 t-shirts to give away. Now, if you haven't figured it out, we made a playlist that in fact, or Molly curated a playlist actually that has all the themes of, the theme of this year's Kiss My Asana is 7 days to shine. And it's all about shining or sunshine or sun. And I can't tell you in the last 2 weeks how much I've listened to this playlist because if you've signed up to raise money and become part of our team that's raising money, whether you're raising money or not, um, you get daily practices every day, and I made each yogic insight off of the lyrics of one of the songs. So if you know me at all, I am kind of weird that way. I actually am way into lyrics. So what's going to happen throughout the course of this, and I have to go back on gallery view because I'm just looking at myself and that's not a good idea when you're doing stuff like this. What's going to happen is that I'm going to work in, maybe without you knowing, maybe with you knowing, I'm going to work in like either the title of a song off the playlist or a lyric off the playlist. And if you're the first one to put it in the chat, the name of the song and by whom, then you get a t-shirt, right? Bethany will reach out to you and get your address. It's like, so here's an example. That's why I was listening to Life is Beautiful. If I had started off this show and said, or when I start off this production, when it's more formal, and I said, let's go. Oh, wait, I got to listen to it again. Here it goes again. I got to get it in my hair. Let's go drifting, I think is the first word. Now it's going too slow. It's a great song, by the way. It's by Keb Mo. If you don't know, it's a great song. It's called Life is Beautiful. If you had heard me say life is beautiful, just in any kind of phrase while I'm teaching, you put it in the box, right? Or if I'd, let's go drifting through the trees. If I said, are you ready to go? Let's go drifting through the trees. You would know that that was Keb Mode's Life is Beautiful. You'd put that in the box and you'd get a shirt. Kathy Dahl's on the call? Oh my God. Oh my God. If you don't know who Kathy Dahl is, she is with us for so many years, our office manager the whole day. She moved to Colorado. Not that she abandoned us. It's not a big deal, but she's on it and it's a good thing. But my point is, that's how it goes. Like, for example, here's what wouldn't get you a t-shirt. If I were to all of a sudden go, last year trying to MC this thing, I lost my shape trying to act casual, right? And you went, oh, and you put in the box, that's cross-eyed and painless by the Talking Heads. You would be correct. As you know, I always reference the Talking Heads, but you wouldn't get a t-shirt because it's not on the list. So buckle up the whole time. You catch a line from a lyric from one of the songs on this fabulous playlist that is going to be featured all week. You win a t-shirt. Does this make sense? Thumbs up if this makes sense. Win a t-shirt, for God's sakes. And in fact, I do have to make the disclaimer you always hear in contests. If you work for Mind Body Solutions directly, you can't win these prizes. Okay, so I can't win my own t-shirts, damn it. So, but all right, here's another thing. So 12 years around the sun. So what I thought, it's hard to imagine. Again, the whole idea of Kiss My Asana actually, again, was the brainchild of Molly Bachman. And God knows when she started working for us. And I gotta say, mostly it's a love thing with Kiss My Asana, but it taxes the little staff here, the little engine that could too. It's a fabulous week, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on with this, and so it's her fault, right? And it's her opportunity, it's her brainchild. I just do what I'm told. That's part of what happens to me. So that's okay. All right. And so what I thought I'd do is I'd start off with, if you ever come to Team Adaptables meetings, which we would like you to come to, we meet once a month. That's one of the things we do. We actually have this thing called Two Truths and a Lie, and we have surveys. Well, I'm going to give you a few trivia questions about mind body solutions. And it's going to reward the people that were here for us longer. Remember, mind body solutions have been around since 2002. All right. I've been teaching adaptive yoga since 1997. We're old. Okay. I'm long in the tooth. Here's kind of an easy one to wet your whistle. It's going to be a survey. I'm going to see how many. And if you get them all right, we'll maybe give you some sort of prize. In fact, we'll give you a certificate for classes at Mind Body Solutions if you get them all right. Right. Not that they're free. Just know it's a value. We'll send you something. What year did KMA switch to online? That'd be the first question. And the options are 2019, 2020, 2021, or 2022. So Bethany put that up. You forgot 2019. Apparently, that isn't one of the options. So, what do you think is the year we switched to online with the kickoff? You got to vote. You got to fill it
Oh,
in.
they're voting. They're voting. It's a dead heat at the moment.
I only have one person answered, 0 of 1. Oh, do I get to vote?
Nope. Yes, actually, you can. You can.
You're
I,
damn
I,
right.
Molly, you
I
can.
didn't, I didn't get anything.
Oh, if you just do you see the poll launched there? Should be on your screen. And if you just came in, you may have to wait till the next question. Okay.
Has everyone voted for God's sakes? Hurry up with the
It's
voting.
it's
Come
full
on.
it's okay. It's not quite done, but we're awfully close. And the answer is from the group, 48% of people think it was in 2021.
It was COVID, for God's sakes. Did you forget? Have you had a momentary lapse of reason and awareness, for God's sakes? Whoops, that would be Pink Floyd. That wouldn't have got you a t-shirt, just so you know. No, it's 2020. Like actually, everything shut down right at the pandemic happened. We've argued about stuff like have we always had KMA? This is going to be one of the questions. Have we always been in April? And we even argued amongst our staff. We've had one in October, but no one remembers but me, which makes me think I might have been in a fever dream back in the first one. I think the first one was in October. There'd be another one. Okay. Who has never been interviewed on a KMA kickoff? Kevin Kling, Krista Tippett from On Bean. Kevin Kling's a storyteller. Krista Tippett from On Bean. Amanda Hancock, who's been a student and is now sub teaching for us, or Michael Amy. And yes, that's his real name. He's got two first names, but that's his last name, Michael Amy. Who votes on that one? Who's never appeared? Vote quickly, please. Otherwise, we'll be doing surveys all day long. Because the format's changed. We've interviewed people, we've done all sorts of things on the KMA kickoff. Have people voted?
Yes. So, 56% of people think we have never had Krista Tippett.
Only 56%. The answer to that is you are correct. However, we did this thing way back in our past called Mind Body Dialogues that was public and featured on public television here in Minnesota on TPT. And we interviewed Krista Tippett on that. Kathy Werzer was the host of that. And one time Kevin Kling was on it, one time Krista Tippett was on it, and one time Bruce Kramer, right, who you maybe knew as a student who had ALS, was one of our students. So the answer is she didn't come on KMA, but she's been part of Mind Body Solutions. Here's another weird one. So back in the day, we used to have this live in person back before there was Zoom. Do you remember there's a time before Zoom? There was actually a time where we actually hung out in three-dimensional space with each other and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a long time ago. So we used to have musical acts sometimes. Okay, so which one of these musical acts never performed in person at the KMA launch? Adam Levy, the band called Hookers and Blow, or Chris Kosa? Let's vote on that one. How out there do you think I would have been in the early days? Would I have had a band at what's a yoga thing called? Because I love irony, you know. Would I have had a band called Hookers and Blow? It's an interesting question. People voted there. Which one hasn't appeared?
We need just a tiny bit longer for someone to take the lead. Okay. Ooh. At 39%, this was very close. They voted that Adam. Oh, nope. Last minute switcheroo. They voted that Hookers and Blow did not. Did not.
You would be correct. However, it's Adam Levy's band. That was one of his many bands. He had the Straw, was it the Straw Dogs? Was his other band, and Hookers and Blow, and then himself. And he played by himself at one of our, it wasn't at a KMA thing though, but he played for us, right? It was at a fundraiser at the Schmidt Brewery where we actually knocked, where was it at? Why you're shaking your head?
The Summit Brewery.
Summit Brewery, pardon me. It was more local. We were cooler than Schmidt, right? It was Summit. All right, next question. So there's a joke at our staff meetings for, I think, 20 years, right? Said, well, not since 20, no, probably only 15, 12 to 15, which would be every staff meeting, for God's sakes, there'd be talk about t-shirts. Okay. Unbelievable. It used to drive me nuts. It used to be my pet peeve. I try to get through one staff meeting without a freaking mention of a t-shirt. Never worked, right? Here's the question. What color has never appeared on a KMA t-shirt? Right? So the options are black, blue, gray, orange, pink, red, or purple. If you don't know, our very mighty graphic designer that does things taught or self-taught, that does all the stuff of Mind Body Solutions, including we have a store on Bonfire with all these different things, designs, hats and cups and all you bags. She always designs t-shirts. That would be about behind the scenes locomotive Molly Bachman, right? So what color has never appeared on a KMA t-shirt? And if you have all the t-shirts, you would win a little prize. You would win a little prize of gratitude, right?
All right.
Who's voting?
There's
Which
a pretty
ones?
clear winner here. So with 27% out of all of those, people are saying that purple was never a color.
Pink. Pink has never been a KMA t-shirt.
Last year was a shade of purple. So anybody who said purple is kind of right, but
No
it's called
ambiguity
berry.
here. Everything I say is very crystal clear all the time. We don't tolerate ambiguity.
I thought last year's was kind of pinkish, actually.
Oh, there's a helpful person.
There you go,
There is
Angelina.
a helpful thing shooting a hole in this whole question. Well, whatever. Okay. Which slogan has never been used for KMA, for Kiss My Asana? Or, well, wasn't even under consideration, pardon me, because it's been Kiss My Asana the whole time. There was a staff meeting where this finally came out, right? One was Kiss of Hope, Yoga for Transformation, Kiss My Buttocks, or Mind Body Solutions Yogathon. Which one was never under consideration? We did settle on Kiss My Asana, just so you know.
This is a fun one to watch the responses. I mean, not all respondents, but there's a very clear winner here. With runaway vote, people are saying that Kiss My Buttocks was never considered.
Right? That was under consideration on the table when I was in a dark mood, right? It was like, for God's sakes, blah, 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 this idea, it's great. It's never going to work. Kiss my buttocks, right? Instead of kiss my asana. Because obviously, because people were offended by the name. We had certain teachers in our mix that thought kiss my asana was too racy. So that's when I went even a step farther and wanted to call it kiss my buttocks, right? Which obviously has never been public knowledge until just now. Just know that I feed on an irony diet. That's how I stay sane, right? So sometimes you got to say just the opposite. All right. So, yeah, the one that never appeared was Kiss of Hope. That would have been too barfy for me to ever do, right? Ever. Right? Because one thing I don't like about how people with traumatized disability, especially disability, are treated, it ends up being so like kind of barfy and inspirational. So if we would have called it Kiss of Hope, it would have made me vomit in my mouth, right? Like it wouldn't have worked for me, right? So Kiss of Hope was the winner there. Um, I think that's all of them, right?
You have the taglines one if you want it.
The what? Oh,
Taglines if you want it.
where do I have that written down on my notes? Do I have that in my notes? Put that up.
Okay.
So I can see it though. I got to be able to see it.
Um,
Which one's never been a tagline for KMA? This is nicer now. Practice with purpose. Keep calm and kiss my asana. Humanity disguised as yoga. Which one's never been considered?
ooh, this one's kind of a runaway. Oh, no, not quite a runaway yet. We'll let. All right. So with 50%, 52%, people are saying that keep calm and kiss my asana was never a tagline.
That'd be wrong. That she's wearing one. Janine is wearing one right there. It's orange. Can you highlight her quick for a second there, Bethany? There it is. So she got that right. So that was the year that COVID happened. So they're trying to everyone to chill out, right? Um, so uh, all of a sudden I'm just seeing myself again, and that is painful. Um, back to gallery view, and I'm good. All right, so that's the trivia. There have been so many Kiss My Asana stories over the years, you have no idea, right? But that's a little of the retrospect. That took a little too long. So now we actually get more into what we're here for. So I've been racking my brain, of course, after 12 years of trying to say different things about the same thing over and over again. which is why the hell are we? What do we do? Because have you noticed that that what Mind Body Solutions does, it's more of a sensation that occurs than it is a thing that we do, right? It's more of a you know, like the thing, it's a little bit of it's a feeling that I want to describe happening. I'm having a little trouble here because a little bit of sunshine comes through the top there and gets my eyes really bad. So all of a sudden I can't see the screen again. So I hope that's not too distracting for anyone but me, right? Um, so so there's a thing that happens, and we're going to show some slides here in a second, but there's this thing that happens that so as you know, I was injured when I was 13, and I was kind of told to just go to my upper body and make it really strong and drag my paralyzed body through life. So it was a weird vision, right? It was like a vision that put me at odds with my own body, that made me think that success in my life meant and entailed um overcoming my body and treating it like an obstacle, right? And it never sat right because there was this level of sensation. If you read Waking, there's a level of sensation that I could kind of feel, this hum, this kind of maybe remnant of the nervous system, a wholeness, a fullness that wasn't just in my mind, right? That was in my whole body. And it actually didn't get validated or confirmed in any way besides just me talking weird late at night, right? Until I started practicing yoga. And it happened with my yoga teacher early on. She actually started to see and confirm. And the big moment was when I had my legs wide in Upavista Konasana, and she said, "Matt, you're not stretching out to your left leg." And I was like, "What? I'm paralyzed. It doesn't stretch. What are you talking about?" And after I had to object because that was the world that I had been imprinted by, right? Was the world of that I can't stretch out through my legs. That was an inherited idea. See, I had an idea, like memories are old, but I just couldn't let it go, right? The ideas were old of my body, but I couldn't just let them go, right? And so I had this conception of my body, and and um and so I answered no, but then I realized she was right. That in fact I wasn't showing up in my left leg like I was my right. That I wasn't as active in my left leg even though it was paralyzed. And in that moment, reality was confirmed. The part of the reality of my experience that the outside world I thought could never see, that it was just a secret, right? And in some ways, all the teacher training I've ever done of yoga teachers has been to try to help have there be teachers that could do what Joe did in the moment of happening in a body that was unseen and intangible, but wasn't actually intangible, could be seen by someone that could feel their own body and know what was happening in other bodies. In that moment, it felt like a mountain sunrise. Like, so when light suddenly comes over the mountain, right? And all of a sudden you see it pop over, all of a sudden what I thought was darkness was actually light, right? And from that moment on, that was in some ways the very beginning of Mind Body Solutions. We've tried to create now a community that actually creates an experience. And it's not just that we support each other. We do support each other. It's not just that we know how to listen to each other. We do that. But there's an aspect of your mind-body relationship that we try to say yes, and we say yes to it because we know what it feels like in our own case. We know that it's true, even though the world tends to disconfirm that level of reality in the body, right? So, with no further ado, I want to switch. And so, in a way, there's a feeling that we try to help you and empower you to know is real and to amplify your voices about. But so we've been posting things online, Molly and Bethany, but Molly's been creating things online that are some slides that try to get why we yogathon, which I love that line. Why do we yogathon? So Bethany, could you put those up for a second? Why we yogathon? By the way, can I just tell you that little decal, I can't think of the word right now. Oh my God, someone will help me. What's the word? Not the decal. What's the
It's a logo graphic.
logo, for God's sakes? I literally listened to and watched Molly have, I think, how many maybe total different t-shirts? I would say probably coming up on a dozen. Different designs, different colors, different
Go on.
sunbursts, different because, and then this is the one that's just right. It has our logo of the sharing of a pose there. So keep going on from that. So this isn't just about sandbag sessions. We do have a thing for teachers, but one of the things that I hope you get out of Mind Body Solutions is when we show up to classes, I hope you realize that you're not just a student. Part of the reason why we want you to speak up and have sometimes sessions after and do all the processing we do together is because we're all students and we're all learning what it is to inhabit the mystery of inhabiting a body and realizing that there's parts of your mind-body relationship that you both control and don't control. This is a big part of we are all together to keep learning and going. So go to the next one. We also want to share stories, right? Obviously, we have a book club, and what I love about that is part of what's happening is part of amplifying the voices. Is that now we have a student that co-facilitates each one. Ruth Becker, I think, is doing the next one, the next Mind Body Reads, and then the one after that, we're having a best-selling author come in, Bonnie Choi, that is going to be talking about her book on muscle. But we do that. But we also are trying to share each other's stories and be good listeners for each other's stories, not just to support the story, but to help the stories evolve. Everybody's story about how they relate to disability needs to evolve. Go on to the next one. Obviously amplifying stories. I mean, some of you already know all that we do, but when I put it all together and think about stuff like this, I'm amazed at how much we get done as an online community. We have Substack, which we're going to talk about in a second. We obviously have our classes, but we also have chat amongst ourselves. We have Mind Body Reads. These are being led by our students, right? There's so many places of intersection. Team Adaptables. We always have conversations and discuss things. We're hoping to amplify the voices, not just for each other. It's what people don't get. We think your voices, our voices, have wisdom for the community and the culture at large. So we are always looking for ways to amplify the voices and the wisdom that comes from living with trauma, loss, and disability. We're not looking for sympathy. We're not looking to get our due all the time. We're not like a social justice group, although we believe in that, right? We actually just want the story to be told by the lion and not the hunter. Till the story's told by the lion, the hunter will always be the hero, right? All right. And all the stories don't need to be inspirational either. So go on to the next one. The final one is Team Adaptables, right? About us getting together and being together in all the different forms that we are. And this is where it gets it's hard to communicate like the funders and stuff and the people. It's like we're just not supporting each other, right? We're actually facilitating each other's wisdom. We're actually listening to that part of experience that the world tends to disconfirm, right? And we're together in all these forms to recreate the possibility and the wonder, right, that happens on the inside of being a survivor or a liver of trauma, loss, and disability. I hope that over time, your yoga practice helps you remember and keep your shine on top, the shine on top of your experience, right? Because life is hard with trauma, loss, and disability. Okay, so move on. So I'd like to go on now to the actual, some of the quotes from people. So again, we're just kind of running through about the amplifying of the voices, right? So I just want to show you a couple of samples of some things. Bethany, are you going to the quotes? Is she alive and happening?
I'm alive. I don't have I don't have the quotes
Oh, you don't?
on slides. No.
Oh, I think I just had a gap this morning. I was like throwing stuff at people. So Molly, do you have them nearby? Oh, I have them. This is a me thing. Whoops. This is me screwing up. I want to throw the team under the bus.
Do you want to
I
read
have
them?
it in, I got them right here. Oh, for God's sakes. All right. So one of the things that this, I'm so sorry, Bethany. I hope you just had that rush of feeling and the flush on your face like you screwed up, but you didn't. It was me. So one of these things that if I think about what Mind Body Solution tries to do and we try to support, um, is is the experience of being in a body, right? Of finding your body again, because we're so formed to try to fit in, you know, we're so it's so we're just trying to keep up and keep pace with the world around us. So here's from one of our students, Karen, who also does amazing artwork in the Substack, right? A lot of you do, right? Here's her little quote, and this is something Molly posted yesterday, I think. MBS helps me connect to my body, maybe for the first time in a very long time. And it strikes me that this profound connection is what is needed for healing in myself and in our communities. Now, I know that kind of seems straightforward. Let me read it again, but it's like it says kind of everything. MBS helps me connect to my body, maybe for the first time in a very long time. That's part of why I started Mind Body Solutions, is because I just noticed that people in trying to survive hard lives, they were losing touch with their body. They were trying to do it all psychologically and emotionally, and they were leaving their bodies behind, like I did, right, for 12 years. So that's from Karen. She's on the call, I think, right? You mind if we point her out and wave to you, Karen? Is Karen on the call today?
Looks like it, but not on camera.
Okay, no problem. So then so she's awesome. And then there's one too. Is Sophie with us today? We don't have to look at her, but is she on
Yeah,
the
Sophie's in the room.
so Sophie's she's been coming for a while, but she's just on. I don't want to talk about her too much, but let's pretend she's not listening right now. Like her voice is just coming out in a beautiful, wonderful way, right? And Molly featured a short little, I would call it a poem, I think. And I'm not sure, Sophie, how you pronounce your last name, Gagne. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing, I don't know. She's a Canadian. And by the way, we all should be begging forgiveness from Canada right now. All right. My body is where I need to be to create. My body is where I need to be for peace to emerge. My body is where I need to be to experience the world. So straightforwardly true. So straightforwardly true. So Judy, did you see my text this morning?
Yeah,
Did
I'm
you
sorry, I
sit?
wasn't awake.
It's all right.
I
So I'm going
don't
to
get
throw you
up
on the
early. That's
spot.
why
This
I'm
is just
always late.
a quick little detour, right? But you're also someone that's been coming with us for a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. And I would say, in watching what's going on with you. So what we try to facilitate at Mind Body Solutions is to be a witness of other people's becoming. So what I want a skill I want to facilitate in yoga teachers, but also in our community at large. So Judy, it seems to me that you've had um an ability, or you've been finding your body, and that's taken different forms. Like in somewhat, can you very briefly say in what ways you found your body, or how that has, manifested itself?
Uh, I'm just not very profound of a person, but I
Incorrect.
it's been 1 year, almost to the end of March, last week of March, something like that. Um, it took me 2 months just to sign on and do it. I thought, yoga, that's not gonna help me, especially sitting down. And I was pretty seized up. I'd been in this wheelchair at that point about 16 years and no exercise.
Do you live with MS, or what is your condition that you live with?
No, no, just damage from
Damage.
car accident and stuff.
Okay, yeah,
And while I can stand up sorta, I have to be hanging on and I can't be walking or nothing. I can't do anything if I'm not hanging on. Yeah, so I was pretty immobile, and my niece is a yoga teacher, and she was starting to worry. And I was like, I went to a concert, in fact, in February before I started this class, and I rented a handicap hotel room, which was the best one I ever had. The everything was low, and the mirrors were low on the dresser, and I saw myself naked and in my chair, and I just was like, I am so screwed up. I've really got to work on. I was almost 500 pounds about a year before that, and I tried to work on my weight. So anyway, that was kind of the turning point. And Marley, without telling me, started searching around online and found you and watched some videos. She goes, Judy, I think I've found the place for you. And because I don't have money, I live on nothing from Social Security. And I went, oh, cool, thanks. I'll check it out. And later that afternoon, I clicked on the videos and watched them for like 30 seconds or something and went, okay, yeah, I'll check that later. And
we
just,
do have a video library, so this is how she got her introduction. Keep going.
yeah, well, it was YouTube stuff
Yeah,
that
yeah,
she
yeah,
got me
yeah.
linked to. And it was you. One was a lecture and one was a
Yeah.
class, I think, or something. I don't know.
So you decided to jump in. When was it you decided to jump in?
A couple months later. I'm
Hmm.
thinking, yeah, I'm messed up, and so I went and watched those videos.
So what was it that started to happen that made you feel like you could move your body in a way you didn't know before?
I had been practicing. I started out with one class because it was at noon on Thursday, and I'm not an early morning person, obviously. And the next week, I took that one class, so I had Molly and Angie, and I went. I kind of like this. So I took a different day. And I started taking these classes and I started adding days. Now I do 6 days typically. And just started my Angie's weight class that's away from here. But I was sitting in the shower and I couldn't for a few years hang my towel up anymore. And I kind of was feeling a little better and I reached out and went, "Ooh, I hung up my towel,"
Yes.
And that was my big breakthrough. I swear
It's
to
the
God.
little things, like being able
Yeah.
to lean
And I was
forward,
even
use your
doing,
feet, lift your spine, not
yup,
just reach with your arm. Think about that. They're all, it seems little, but like when you realize that you're supposed to move with your whole body, And I know you've continued to lose some weight and feel like that you're doing
Lost a
6 a
lot.
days. You're kind of a junkie. This is good.
Yeah.
This is a good
And
thing. This,
recently Marley was at my house, my yoga teacher niece, and she goes, "You know what, Judy? I'm seeing a difference in you." And I go, "Yeah, like what?" "I have lost," and I spit off the weight pounds. And she went, "No, no, not that, but I am seeing that." She said, "You're sitting up straighter all the time, uh, just in general, you know." And
yeah,
I actually hadn't realized how crooked I was
yeah.
until she said, "No, you were pretty, you know, a year ago, you were pretty messed up." She just said this a month or so ago.
See, that's awesome. So this
Yeah,
is the
so
kind
that's
of
my
thing I want.
story. It's made a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah. The other thing you should know about, and we can talk about this another time, if you come to Team Adaptables, we always ferret these stories out of her. Honestly, Judy has been and seen every live concert that you'd ever want to see in your entire life, ever, right?
Not every, but a
It
lot.
seems like wait, that just
Tons.
take it. So this is what come to Team Adaptables and you'll hear like remarkable stories of concerts, right? But in a way, this type of story is exactly the little things that don't to the rest of the world seem like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I don't grabbing, hanging up your towel, being it, but all the complexity that goes into that, to being able to feel your whole body, to not just think it's about how far you can reach, but to realize that how you reach and where you are in your body as you reach, it's way more than body mechanics. It's a level of connection and synchronicity within your own body, within your own whole body, that our culture doesn't know how to support. And that's part of why we are. So, one other story of impact, right? Quick little story. My person that I like to throw under the bus the most is Angelique, who actually teaches for us. And she, if you don't know, there's a documentary that actually is quite remarkable, made by an award-winning documentarian called Standing Still, Still Standing. And Angelique is one of the three main stories that's being told when that came out. And I saw that it was released in 2017, and we invited her back to come watch the opening, and with Andrew Walton was the director, and we saw, and that's when we synced back up after her injury. She's been injured for over 12 years. She was and is a Vinyasa practitioner and a very active, more physical Vinyasa practitioner before her injury happened. And I wanted to and she's like exactly what we hope from Mind Body Solutions is people reconnecting to their body and realizing continuity through change, right? Which is one of the great, if you're acquiring something, and when someone's been born with a disability, we're kind of hoping to find different parts of their body that they never thought was there. So, and Angelique, will you talk a little bit about finding your sense of vinyasa before and after you broke your back in our uh liver
Um,
with a spinal cord injury and intense chronic pain, nerve pain.
uh, before before my injury, I found vinyasa through um
There's her dad, by the way.
my
Dad,
dad.
he's
It's
one
my
of my
dad.
favorite guys. When he shows up, I feel lucky. All right. Yeah, yeah. All right.
um,
You made a good daughter, by the way, just so you know.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much. I'm very proud.
yeah, yeah. All right.
um, before I started doing yoga just because I wanted to be more flexible for aerial when I was doing aerial stuff. And and
Trapeze
then
work and stuff. Yeah.
then it sort of became a little bit more impactful in my life and vinyasa because it felt like dance and I always wanted to be a dancer. I know I did aerial and I tried to do dance and stuff just because it made me a better aerialist, but I was never really a dancer, but I always wanted to be a dancer really bad. um and vinyasa made me feel like a dancer. Like it flowed and it felt and I always felt really I could get into the if there was music playing, I get into the music. Could get into the movement. I could find my meditation there. I could feel my center there. Like I could get to silence there in a way. Um, and then after my injury, I didn't feel like there was a place for that anymore. Like I kept, and I know that I drove you crazy because I was like, I kept trying to find it, but not in the, like, it's like butting my head against the wall. I would go to real vinyasa classes and I would just be trying so hard. And I was like, you know,
Real
I
vinyasa
literally
classes.
broke
Yeah.
my leg. I hurt myself. I did like, I just hurt myself repeatedly trying to
Push the
do,
physical limits as if the
yeah.
physical part was what vinyasa was teaching you, which it actually was just the doorway, right? But
Um, and then I sort of let go. I was like, I'm just going to let go of it. And when I did that, I I just surrendered into like, I'm just going to do whatever we do here at MBS. I'm just going to do this. And then in this, I found vinyasa again. And I'm going to get emotional and I'm going to try not to because I always feel like I get emotional whenever you ask me these questions. But I was able to find it. And I think it was like Carrie Sims who said to me in one of our workshops, he's just like, and you already know how to do it. You just have to like, all you got to do is move, like just move the way you used to. You're just sitting in a chair. And I was like, oh God, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. So, so I started practicing. I started trying to figure it out. And then I found it again. And then when I found that, I was able to like find I felt like I could feel my whole self again in that way that I used to.
and that whole synchronous ability to synchronize movement in your whole body, what did that
Yeah.
feel? I'm throwing you
Well,
a softball right now. Remember we talked about what that was for
say
you.
that again.
Just
Sorry.
the whole synchronized movement of your whole body
Oh,
felt.
it felt healing. Like I was feeling that place of healing, like there's if when and I know a lot of people can probably relate to this. You feel like you're in this constant place of like having to learn to love your body again. And as your body changes consistently, you're going, okay, all right, now I got to learn to love it this way again, like it's this constant change. And in those moments of that synergistic, like that, everything's feels like you feel like you're whole again. Um, that you feel like I feel that healing, I feel that love, and I feel that all of that.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I learned too from that feeling, in a way, when Joe affirmed to me that level of sensation, and I knew that it was real and affirmed. It wasn't just that my mind had to love my whole body. When you and I were talking yesterday about this, it's like I really want to feel the sensation of not just psychological acceptance, but of inward, direct love and appreciation of my legs. The best thing I can do is when I'm long sitting with my legs in front of me, lean forward and grab my bones of my shins, right? And and feel the connection to my bones and slightly lift my chest. And and all of a sudden I can see clearly now that I'm in my whole body. And it's a tactile sensation. It's not just a thought, right? And those are the moments that hopefully our community can affirm each other. Thanks for that. So now it's where, does anyone have, well, I think we should start teaching the class because already I'm thinking, oh no, we're supposed to be 75 minutes and I gotta teach some stuff for God's sakes. Because part of the whole point of this whole thing is to realize potential in your body, in your consciousness, not to overcome the difficulties of your life, but to appreciate it. Hey, Bethany, has
I
anyone won a t-shirt yet?
it literally just came through. I was just about to get on my Nancy called out. I can see clearly now.
Do you know that I've done 7 or 8 of them already? Have you not? Does no one like, maybe you don't like our t-shirts. I've been like throwing the they're lines that I would never say. I must be really good at, you must be used to accepting lines that make no sense, right? But one of the things about that place, by the way, Mountain Sunrise was one, right? That was in there for God's sakes. Melinda, you nod your head, but you didn't claim a t-shirt for God's sakes. You got that one already. We got other ones
There are
to
two
make,
bananas
right?
over there.
I was going to help. Thank you.
Yeah.
They're right there.
So Shine on Top was one for God's sakes, right? That's the one, that's one of the songs I end day 7 with in the audio files. Come on, I'm trying to get you to, to get that there have been things, there are ways to win t-shirts. But one of the things that I was thinking about what to teach today, which was how to, have my spine feel like a shining star, to have it emanate in space, right? So, so I've taught a lot of different people since 1997 in adaptive yoga. I see Jennifer on here, it always makes me happy, right? She's one of the people I taught in person for years and years and years, right? So, but like, and I've taught people with really like profound
We just
brain stems
two people, a bunch more people are adding in.
are finally getting some
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need to weigh in anymore. Just, I told you to pay attention to win t-shirts for God's sakes. Okay. So, oh wait, I lost my train of thought. Damn it. By the way, I said a little bit of sun too, for God's sake. Did you hear that one? That's semisonic, for God's sakes. Right. Um, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. No, about the spine and the fact that it emanates. I've never ever taught anyone without a spine. I've had them not being able to move their body. I've had their minds completely gone, right? I've taught people unconscious. I've taught people with PTSD that are basically in a different plane of time. They're not even in the present anymore. But I've never ever taught anyone without a spine, right? And it turns out that yoga is about the realization of of magical energy in the spine, right? So one of the things that lifting your chest does, not only does it spread awareness through your whole body, but it's in a really, don't just learn to look up with your mind. Learn to look up with your spine, right? Learn to lead. Part of the reasons why you practice asana is that you start to realize that all your life force actually comes through your core channel. Like one of my favorite lines in the book that I swear to God's going to get out into the world sometime is, what's my favorite line? One of my favorite lines in that book? I just forgot it. It'll come back, right? But the oh, that there's a party of consciousness that happens through your midline. And it turns out that the bones are the first ones to show to the party. So your deepest core channel is right through where your spine is. And your body in that midline throws in bone and disc and tender flesh. But bone, and think about the center of your arm, the midline of your arms got bones. The midline of your legs got bones. But all the bones are waiting for the life force in your spine. Your brain and your mind just organize it, right? You know, that your mind is actually the one that comes to the party, the annoying person that comes to the party that thinks they're the life of the party, but they're actually kind of missing the whole point of the party. That's what your mind's like, right? So sit up straight and tall. One of the difficult things about a spine is that it's hard to sense directly. So are bones, right? But there's sensations. Like, how do you know you're having a midline? So it turns out that movement, right? Movement is one of the ways that you start changing gravity. So your mind's not used to listening to the source of life force, which seems really ironic, right? Think about the mind. The mind's always facing outward. It's looking for threat. It's looking for this. It's out this way. It goes through the organs of, goes through the eyes, right? So it's not used to paying attention to the source, right? Which turns out to be the life force. Remember, the life force is coming through the midline and it grows into, over evolution's like made us get lungs there and a vascular system and a nervous system that goes and spreads out through the entire body, right? But it's all coming from the midline. It's not like your heart's in your hand, right? It's not like your spine's in your hand. It's at your midline. So changing the sensation by changing gravity, by moving around in your sitting bones, right? You're actually getting more input so your mind can wake up to spaces that it overlooks, which is your midline. The problem with your midline is like if you sit here and just sit still and you just like don't do anything, if you close your eyes really hard and think really hard about it, can you feel where your spine is? If you don't move, probably not. Turns out you're going to have to change gravity, right? And I'm telling you, our culture does not pay attention to their spine, right? So lift up and put your spine into some traction. So it turns out that, especially if you sit a lot, like I do, by the way, there's a lot of compression in the spine, which will dull sensation. When you compress your neck, when you compress your spine, when you compress your low back from sitting at a computer all the time, you're dulling your overall sensation. So you're gonna light it back up, right? You're gonna like get it and get it and use gravity to hang your spine down. So as you put your feet on the floor and your sitting bones, you find where your sitting bones on, which you find by getting more input. Otherwise, your mind won't find it on its own, right? Can you allow the space between your sitting bones? You don't get to know your midline. You have to allow it. You have to let in to receive. Turns out that your mind, my mind at least, doesn't know why I can't let go enough to receive. So I find the sitting bones and I connect to your inner heels. And then in this unknowable midline, hit down with your sitting bones and lift your very low abdomen up. Right? So your sitting bones are going down, your very low abdomen's going up. And as you rise up, I want you to spread it across your collarbones, right? And as you know, it's much easier to feel the front side of your body rather than the back side. So drop your chest again. A beginning student's going to first hear, I'm really struggling with the sunlight, right? So you raise up this way, and that's easy to feel your front. But now I want you to make sure that you're allowing the back body, right, to come forward. Your back ribs come forward to be part of the lift of the spine. When you do it that way, hit down with your sitting bones more. Extend from the inner groin to the inner heel down to the inner knee to the inner heel. And then let your breath come in. So one of the things that yoga does is it shows you what it is to have inward awareness, which isn't as tangible as outward awareness. And one of the things about yoga is that you're exploring that there are actually colors in the dusk, right? And then release. So when I go from the back body, soften the inside of my mouth. So I have to let go of my mind's need to control, soften around my temples, find my sitting bones, allow that there's a space in between, lift my lower abdomen up, broaden not just across my collarbones, but the space between my shoulder blades. As I start hitting down and rising up, extend from the inner groin to the inner knee down to the inner heel. There's colors in the dusk. Breathe. Get your breath to be part of the whole. Good, and then release. Turns out we're at the very core action of a twist, right? But allowing the unknowable part of your midline, right, is a big part of a twist. So inhale and take your arm up. Exhale and take your arm off to the side. So right over. So I'm grabbing my leg over here, right? I'm grabbing my leg over here. I'm taking the other arm behind. So it matters because if I'm off balance when I'm like this and I just flop because I'm thinking I'm supposed to do the outside of the pose, I'm not in my midline. I got to figure out where to put this hand in a way that allows my midline, my spine, to get more traction. Right? In order to feel my midline, I have to soften the jaw, the inside of my mouth, keep the tongue in the lower palate. So it turns out to even find my midline even more, I'm doing some tricks. I know all these tricks because I've been practicing yoga for a long time. So when I'm doing a twist where I really want to feel my midline, I grab my knee over here and I push my femur bone back into my hip socket. So I get a rise up in the midline. And I keep this arm on my leg, right? So I get my bones to help me see where my midline is. I make sure I'm not off balance and flopping around. I get stable because grounding is part of every pose. All this is to make sure my spine twists, but not just my physical spine twists, my energy spine twists, because conditions of safety and stability need to be met in order for my spine to actually shine like a diamond. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. So I could keep going down towards the earth, hit the sitting bones down, lift the lower abdomen up, catch it with your chest, open the space between the shoulder blades, lift under the collarbones, reach for the sky, feel the sunshine in the room. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Now, if your mind is dumb enough that you're trying to crank this twist to get farther, wake up, right? Wake up and realize you're trying to get more of the universe to come through your pose. You're not trying to win the pose. Good, and then come on back to center. Be in the center. All these, you see it more with traditional sense. By the way, did you hear me go like 4 different songs in that teaching? Did anyone claim any of those frickin' t-shirts? I just went through a whole bunch of them. for God's sakes, listen to the 7 Days to Shine playlist. But it's amazing to watch traditional students get too greedy in poses. They think they have to win them. They think that somehow more of the universe is going to come through their pose if they get fixated on mastering the pose. You're only getting better at the pose so you can receive more. You're not trying to accomplish more, right? So I got to get this lightness back in my spine. So I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to like try to get the lightness in my body to have sound, right? The sunshine in my body to have sound. This asana is like the sound of sunshine, right? And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to hit down through my sitting bones. I'm going to lift the lower abdomen up. I'm going to catch it with my chest. I'm going to spread it from the back body between my shoulder blades. I'm going to lift under my collarbones. I'm going to soften my jaw. I'm going to do everything at once. As I hit the abdomen down, the sitting bones down, abdomen up, right? I'm going to feel from the inner groin to the inner knee to the inner heel. That's Tadasana. I'm going to spread it like sunshine in the room. I'm going to soak up the light that comes through my body, soak up the sun, right? I'm going to inhale, take my arm up, exhale, take it over to my side, right? And I'm going to I'm going to make sure I'm going to do it again. I'm going to put my forearm on my leg. I'm going to grab my knee and I'm going to find the right place to put my arm over here. Now, it's different on this side than that side because my body's different, right? So I'm going to go down through the earth, re-hit the sitting bones down, lift the abdomen up, but I'm trying to move energy up my spine, broaden it into the world, spread the sunshine in the room. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. But by grabbing my bones, by being more connected to the earth, I'm not just following the brightness of the sun. I'm trying to combine the earth and the sun because that's how things grow. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Things don't grow just with sunlight. They need the earth and they need you to be the seed. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Good. And then come on back to center. Oof. Lordy. So like I can tell you, I did that so deeply, my mouth got really dry. So I'm going to sprinkle some water onto the seed that is me. I'm going to think I'm combining stuff to become stuff. Sounds so simple. It's not that simple. I'm going to do it again. So now I'm going to do it just a standing pose or two. Can you tell I'm going to blow right by the 75 minutes? I'm going to end at 90 minutes. Right? I'm getting the lightness. So by making space in my spine, I'm letting there be more air in my body. Yeah. I'm using change, right? All right, I'm going to sit up straight and I'm going to find Tadasana for a second. I'm going to hit my sitting bone down, lift my lower abdomen up, stretch from the inner groin to the inner knee, broad across my collarbones, blah, 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 all the space. And then I'm going to do something a little bit more subtle. I'm going to be a little bit more graceful. I'm going to make sure I take time to balance my head over my neck. My mind gets so caught up. It forgets to feel sensual because it thinks our sensual nature is not part of getting things done. What a freaking mistake. What a great way to miss the sunshine. It happens when you're in the sun, right? You're out there and you forget when you get busy out there, you forget to feel the touch of sunlight, you know? The way it touches your body, that's like the sound of sunlight again. All right, so now you're going to take your legs wide. right, on the chair, and we're trying to figure out how to have the midline and wake the spine up, right? All standing poses are to try to get the connection between your legs and your and your spine to wake up and maybe feed your arms, but the arms are window dressing too, right? So I'm sitting like this, and I gotta remember my mind until it gets input. My mind only has to make an object out of things. It doesn't know how to access from inside to out. My mind always accesses things from outside to in, right? And so I'm gonna move around a little bit. So my spine starts moving through my midline. So I start feeling the change of gravity and the way that gravity changes the flow of energy down my legs. So as I lean forward, I'm going to feel my tailbone and where my knees are, and I'm going to go lean forward and feel maybe the pressure change on my feet. So for me, especially because I'm paralyzed, I don't feel this on the outer body like you all do. I have to find it on the inner body, but you people that feel it on the outer body need to feel it on the inner body, right? Yeah, and that's one of the advantages that as a paraplegic I have, maybe over a lot of you, right? So I'm feeling that. And now I want to make sure that I'm getting my bones as part of it. So when I take my, remember, standing poses. So Molly, just for a second, will you stand up and take your legs wide? Right. So are you high? I'm on gallery view. Um, so is everyone just seeing Molly's room? Bethany, are you there? So take your arms wide, right? But so the legs wide. So just for a second, put your hands on your hips. So what she's got here going that gives her an advantage, kind of, is that because she can feel where her feet are on the floor, she gets action in her legs that actually go directly up through her spine, right? So, but I can tell you when she takes her arms wide, take your arms wide, right? She actually, the quiet part of her pose, because she's having to hold up her arms, the quiet part of her pose is harder to find. So when she puts her hands on her hips and pins her hips, it's going to be more consistent with why she softens the inside of her mouth and keeps the tongue in the lower palate, right? So this type of energy that she's getting from pinning her own hips, when she takes her arms wide in a second, right? The quiet energy of pinning her hips is actually part when she takes her arms wide now, is part of what allows her to feel the empty space under her arms, right? Because it's a different level of your nervous system that feels the space around you. So I'm going to ask her to make a connection between the empty space between her legs and the empty space under her arms. To remind her of the sensation of it, I'm going to have you pin your hips again. Find what that feels like from the quieter, more nourishing energy that's in the empty space of your hips. Lift your chest, broaden across the collarbones, broaden the space between your shoulder blades, reconnect to each heel, inhale, and take your arms up and open the empty space under your arms. Drop the shoulder blades away from the ears and balance your head over your neck. Open the palms, right? Good, and then come on down, right? So there you have, and then release, and I'm going to put everyone back on gallery view, right? So I'm not looking at just the two of us. So we're going to try to get the advantage of a standing pose. That's the core position of a whole bunch of standing poses, right? You're going to take your legs wide. And remember, when you're sitting in a chair, you don't get the direct feedback. You don't get the direct feedback. Remember, we're still paying attention to the spine here. You don't get the direct feedback of the feet on the floor in the same direct straight line because you have a bend here, right? So that feeling of her being able to because she's standing, you and I have to figure out, because my legs are not quite, my feet aren't gonna really get in the floor all the way, right? First of all, I want to get the connection of just having instead of having my legs straight away ahead like I usually do, I want to feel and pay attention to the change of having my knees apart. So I'm just going to push out here. Now I'm trying to get the groin to open a little bit, right? Because when the groin gets more open, more turned outward, energy goes up my spine better. And when that happens, it's a standing pose now. When that happens, I can go down through my legs at the same time better too. So you're trying to get the groin open so you can get this rise so you can extend down while you're rising, right? And so one of the ways I want to recreate the feeling that Molly gets on the floor, I'm going to put my hands on my knees and I'm going to push back in. This feeling on the knees, extra reference to my brain, is like her heels on the floor. So I'm making sure that the connection between my spine and my femur bones gets a little extra bit of lighting, a little bit more sunshine. And I'm going to soak up the sun right here. And I'm going to breathe. Then I'm going to make it be where I got my arms like this. I'm going to try to feel the underside of each arm, right? So I can feel the space between my arms and my legs. I'm going to lift my chest. I'm going to spread the space between my shoulder blades. I'm going to stay connected to the earth by leaning forward. Then from this position, although I have to go off balance, I'm going to take my arms wide, or one arm or neither arm. If you don't take your arms wide, just spread across your collarbones, across your chest, front and back. And I'm going to be a full body with my midline down through my sitting bones, down through my legs, feeling all the sensations. Now I'm going to try to like get all the work I have to do. Now I'm going to try to feel the space between my shoulders and my ears, the space under my arms, right? And I'm going to balance and I'm going to lift my chest and I'm going to feel the sensation of air on my skin wherever I can. And I'm going to work hard and I'm going to be expanding sunshine in the room. Breathe. Good. And then release. So that's our version of arms and legs wide. We used to often teach that in person on the floor. So now we're just going to make it a little bit more like a standing pose by doing it Molly, will you stand up and do that again? Will you highlight Molly again for a second? Right. So we're just going to do triangle pose, Trikonasana. So she's going to take your arms wide. Turn your left foot in, right foot out. So go the other way. So all that's happened here is that she's changed some of the gravity. So as soon as she changes her stance, her arms got heavier, her spine compressed a little bit. So she has to re-engage. She has to push down through her feet, press down through her feet, especially on the right foot. Draw the flesh from the hip socket, from the knee up to the hip socket. Feel the side body up to her armpit, and get bigger in space, right? So she had to, when she changed her position, she had to re-engage the pose. Inhale, on an exhalation, come on down to triangle pose. So now she's changing gravity and she's changing her relationship to gravity. All this makes her compress in her spine again and drop the energy in her legs. So she has to re-engage the pose. You always get the ability to restart a pose. Yoga always lets you to start over. Now she has to rotate her belly up towards the ceiling, straighten the bottom arm, make the space between her shoulder blades more lit, stretch the arm up. And as she does the space between the arms better, she can extend her spine even better through the midline. Lift your head up just a little bit, Molly. Don't turn your head up. Yep. So she gets her neck more in line with her spine, and then her midline starts to light up. Good. And then come on back up. So we're going to go back to gallery view, right? So Molly, you do the other side, but I don't want to take the time to do the other side. So you just do it so you don't feel off balance. So we're going to try to recreate that feeling, right? So here we go again, right? So we go through, I'm going to quick touch into my bones because alignment is an effortless form of mind-body integration. Hit back, lift the chest, take my arms up, get all that, right? But I'm not going to do both arms at once. I'm going to know that I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and lean over this way and start to turn, right? So now I'm going to make sure I push down because I'm not going to worry about my arms yet. I'm going to push down my forearm here. That's to get her spine active. That's when I had to re-engage her legs. I'm going to push down through the back hip to get my spine to pop up, but to get the energy to go up. But in order, once I go up, I have an opportunity to go down, right? So I'm going to get this pose right here without my arms yet. I'm going to really try to get it happening. There's me not happening. There's my midline being dull. There's my midline coming alive, coming alive. And as it comes alive, I feel my legs more. Then I'm going to, once I have it all, I don't care if you lift your arm up or not, I'm going to spread this way, spread between the space between the shoulder blades, take my arm up. And as my arm goes up, I'm going to try to feel my legs more. I'm going to try to feel my sitting bones more. And I'm going to try to come over a little bit more, hit down through my sitting bones, let the uncontrollable space through the midline expand with sunshine. I'm going to let the light of the room, the sunshine, fill the room and expand up. Drop the shoulder blade back towards the earth. Extend beyond my fingertips. Breathe. Get my head part of the pose. Whew. And then go this way. Whew. I better move around because I just really locked that pose in, right? So I'm making sure I don't get too stuck in my mind's intensity. Because if you get too stuck in your mind's intensity, you lose the sun. All right, we're going to go the other way. So again, I'm going to grab both knees, find the bones, hit up through my spine, hit down through my feet, find the midline, make sure it's connecting out through my shoulders now without my arms. And then I'm going to change gravity. This is like turning the right foot in, now, the right foot in, left foot out. Right? So I'm going this way. So now I'm making sure that I'm getting the gravity down by pushing on my leg down here, pushing on my back leg, and getting my spine to pop up skyward. But I know as a yogi that once I go this way, I have an opportunity to go that way. So I'm not just using my mind thinking, oh, I get to go one direction. No, yoga is not, asana is not for your mind, it's for your body. It's for your body to teach your mind possibilities to see colors in the dusk of your inward, in the colors of the dusk, right? So I'm extending up, I'm getting this to pop, I'm trying to feel my feet. And then I'm opening. I don't care if you even take your arms up. I'm going up right into my plane, right? I'm dropping my shoulder blade this way so I can go beyond my fingertips. I'm letting my spine go this way so I can go down through my legs. I'm balancing my head over my neck. I can't quite do that on this side as well. So, and I'm feeling the sensation on my skin of the air of the room. And I'm knowing that my spine shines bright like a diamond. And I'm breathing into the light. But I'm earning it from all the work. Good, and then release. Come back to center. Come back to the midline. Whew. Yoga is real, right? Makes you feel a whole bunch of stuff. Makes you feel stuff that you didn't quite know. So as you sit here, one of the things about fatigue, so that was just really a lot of work for me, especially to talk while I was doing it, right? But after you move your spine a little bit and you get it more active, can't you feel that hum? That fatigue? The fatigue is a form of hum for your body. It actually lights up the empty space in your poses. If you ground towards the earth and let the hum be part of the rise, and you smile with your mouth, it might feel like you're walking on sunshine. Balance your head over your neck. If you compress your spine, you dull the sun in your midline. The paradox is the sun in the midline also has to include the moon. It's not something your mind gets to do. You have to receive it. So I'm sitting here and I'm feeling the practice and I'm breathing into the earned sunshine of asana. The playlist, if you listen to the songs, it's not just about celebrating. It's actually about the paradox. That's why I love Kev Mode. It's life is beautiful. That's the message, but it's coming from a blues riff. Most of us came to yoga because we didn't all come to yoga because we were super happy. Came to yoga because we knew there was more. And some of us knew that we wanted to make the more be tangible. We wanted it to include our body. And what I hope that we do at Mind Body Solutions in a way that we can never fully communicate. Very few funders get this all the way, but some do. Is that this level of being in your body is transformative. It does things like make you feel like a dancer, make you feel like a vinyasa student, make you be able to hang up a towel in the shower, make you be able to be more patient with your body. When you realize that your body, regardless of what's happening with it, it's the miracle. Literally, your body is the bringer of life. Your body guarantees life. And somehow, when you have enough hard things happen in your life, you forget that because the world's told you, like it told a 13-year-old boy, say you needed to overcome stuff in order to live here. Yeah, that's part of living a life too. But that's after you realize there's another level of consciousness here. That level needs a witness. It needs support. And that's what we try to do at Mind Body Solutions. Right? So I've gone on to the whole 90 minutes. I would normally teach Shavasana, but you're going to have to listen to day 7, right? Of the 7 days to shine. And you're going to know that Shavasana. So I'm actually kind of doing it right now. So I hope you're kind of doing it right now. I'm balancing on my elbows. I'm like finding, letting my body happen, feeling symmetry. I'm doing it while I'm talking, right? I'm letting it all be here. I'm letting the fact that there's a transcendent part of sunshine and it doesn't just warm your skin. It comes through the emptiness as nourishment. So as I'm sitting here quieting down, I'm realizing that the sunshine doesn't always have to feel warm. There has to be, I laugh about Mind Body Suits and how we survived this long. And because of people like you helping us and stuff, there has to be an invisible sun, right? Gives its heat to everyone. Namaste. Spirit in me bows to the spirit in you.